Good morning, guys. Today we're working on a small but exciting project. It's something that we have been thinking about and just kind of like had in the back of our brains for, the 2 years now that we've lived in this house. And we decided that now is the time to finally tackle it. If you're new here, my name is Kira. Feel free to call me Q, and welcome to our garden. What we're tackling today is we have these two windows and we have beds underneath them. Now, we didn't create these beds, they were already here when we moved in, but this one gets like a couple hours of sun. A few weeks ago, Andrew went ahead and put in a drip line, and we planted that little peppermint, and this lavender was already here. And then on the other side, there's another window and another flower bed. Now this one is full shade all day long. It's completely covered by our patio roof, and that's fine, but we didn't really know if we could plant anything here, and we would like to just kind of like pretty up this space. Now, Andrew already worked on this a few days ago, like putting soil and stuff in here, and I have some footage of that, so I'll drop that in. You can see here that this soil is super dry. It hadn't been watered in, I don't know how long, at least 2 years that we've been here, but before that, who knows? And so the first thing we needed to do was actually take a bunch of stuff out. And you can see here there was also like landscaping fabric and just a bunch of rocks and stuff. And so we had to just make sure all of that stuff was out of the way. And it was a super dusty job. We also got the pickaxe out to really break up the clumps down there, and we didn't know how far down it went, but it turned out that it was actually deep enough to plant things, which was really great. And so once we took a bunch of soil out, we added in some new potting soil just to kind of give this area a little bit of a boost. And this is just what we got from our local garden center. We also decided to put a bunch of worm castings in there along with some red wiggler worms from our vermicomposting setup. And so we just dumped a bunch of that in, mixed them in, and we figured that they would hopefully help improve this soil over time. And then once all of that was like mixed in, Andrew actually went later and topped this off. And so you can see here there's a little bit more space. He actually filled up that whole thing with another bag of soil, and we just watered everything in. But now back to present day. What we're trying to do here is we want to experiment with a few like shady plants that basically don't care if they get sun. And so that's what we're going to be putting in here today. Hopefully it works. I don't know. This is going to be a full experiment, and we're going to see if we can get something to grow in this space just because we would like to use it. And it would be really pretty to have something here right underneath this window. One, for when we have company over, because we really love to like entertain on this patio and like have meals out here and everything. But we also would love to just have something pretty that we can see from inside the house too. Now in this plant haul, I also picked up some stuff for our Greenstalks. So we're gonna try some fuchsias in here in our shady Greenstalk. We have coleus. I've never grown coleus before, but I thought these were really pretty. And then I have this one, and then this one. And I thought that that was a really cool color combination, and they might complement each other well. I might regret not getting threes just because I do like odd numbers of things, but we'll see. This is something that the guy at our garden center convinced Andrew to get. It's yerba buena. I know nothing about this, but apparently it's supposed to do well in the shade. And then I got some more petunias for the Greenstalks. I got another fuchsia for the Greenstalk. And then we got this. What is the tag for this? So this is dianthus. It's a Telstar mix. So we grew dianthus once before in a pot back in the day when we had like just a patio that we were trying to grow things on for the first time, and it did pretty well. And so we were going to see how this did because apparently it will still bloom in the shade also. And then we got a couple more mints, and as an experiment, I want to see if I can get herbs to grow in our shady Greenstalk. And it didn't really work the first time I tried it, but I was trying with plants that I started and they were really, really small. The way that the watering system works in the Greenstalk, it might have been that they weren't growing just because they weren't really big enough to like latch on to the nutrients or the water or anything like that. So I wanted to try it with bigger plants, and this is totally an experiment. So I didn't want to spend a ton of money on it and get a bunch of them. And so this really is to see if we can get something to stay in our green stock in the shade that only gets, I want to say, like an hour or two of sunshine right now. And I want to see if we can keep these kinds of tender herbs longer without them bolting. The first thing we did here was just figure out where we wanted to place everything. I actually got a ruler out so that we could check the plant spacings, just because these are a lot of plants that we've never actually grown before, and I wanted to make sure that we gave them all the absolute best chance we could, especially since, you know, the soil wasn't super great in here and we've never tried to grow anything in the shade before. So here we're just kind of like moving things around, deciding where we want everything, and then putting it into place. This project has been such a learning curve. At the time of me doing this recording, it's actually probably a month or so after we planted these initially, and we've learned a lot. Some of these plants are doing okay, some are kind of struggling, others have gotten eaten by very strange pests. But this has definitely been a really cool learning curve, just because, like I said, we've never tried to grow anything in the shade before, and this is totally out of the element of any kind of gardening that I do. Normally I have really focused on like vegetable gardening, and you know, I got into flowers a little bit last year, and so doing anything ornamental is just completely out of my comfort zone. And I love that I get to kind of experiment with that with gardening. There's always something new to try, and definitely for me there's still a lot to learn. And this was just one of those things where I was super happy to have it. Like, I want to be able to beautify the space, and I've seen people do really cool things with shady areas. And so I'm excited to just kind of continue on this journey. This is definitely not the last bunch of plants that we're going to put in this bed, because even now, you know, looking back at this, I'm like, oh yeah, they were so beautiful going in. They don't look like this anymore. Either way, even if they were all amazing, there's still so much that for us to learn here, and it's super valuable for me. And this is just kind of an overview of what everything looked like once we put it in. And then of course we gave everything a really good, thorough watering. After this, we put in a drip irrigation system. So it's actually been watered by drip for the last month, and that has been really great. So I don't have to worry about that. Now here in the green stalks, before we get started on this, we had a couple strawberries that we needed to pick. And this is another definite like learning curve for me, is growing things in containers. This is actually the best year that I've had with growing things in containers. You can see these strawberries are producing, and they're small, but they're really, really good. And so it's been really cool to see these plants grow, and I've never grown petunias before this year. And so just kind of learning the life cycle of flowers and what it takes to keep things quote unquote continuously blooming, and how early you need to prune things or like deadhead flowers in order to get the next round of flowers. These are all things that I really don't know anything about, and I've been learning about, and it's really cool and really interesting. And so yeah, I'm learning what it takes for me to have this like continuous beautiful container or landscape, and it's completely different than any kind of gardening I've done before. And so I'm really happy that I decided to learn first in these kind of small areas, instead of, you know, trying to take over like our whole front yard or something like that, or a bigger garden bed. I'm so glad that I decided to learn first in these two green stalks that we have, and now these like really small flower beds right on our patio. This is actually the top of our green stalk, and when we replenished the soil in building out all of the rest of it, we skipped this one just because we didn't have one of the watering trays for this. Our dog decided to chew on it and completely destroyed it, so we had to order a new one. So what we're doing now is we're taking out some of the old soil and we're putting in more new potting mix. And then we also have these worm casting leftovers that we used to make worm tea to fertilize our entire garden. And so we figured, why not just put it in here? It's extra nutrients. And, you know, these plants can benefit from whatever is left over in those castings after we made all of the worm tea. So we're just mixing all of that in, filling it all the way up to the top, and then replanting this green stalk with new things. And here it's kind of a mix of all the things, which is really cool. We have the dianthus, we have a little, I always want to call them snapdragons. They're not snapdragons. A little fuchsia. I always want to call them snapdragons because I think that's what we called them when I was a kid. Because we used to just like pop them. I don't know. They're fuchsias. So yeah, we have this beautiful fuchsia and then we have the petunias, and it's really cool to have just kind of like a mix of things right at the top of this green stalk. And then once that was done, I had Andrew help me lift this on top of the other tower that we have. I'm not quite strong enough to do this. It gets pretty heavy, especially if you make the mistake and water it first before you build the tower. Learn from my mistakes, don't do that. But yeah, we just put that to the side because we had like 2 days until the tray came in. And so once the tray was in, we just went ahead and put that on top. And now what we're doing is in this extra bed, we're just putting in the leftover petunias, a little dianthus just to try it out. I also ended up throwing some like chard seeds over here just to see what would grow in this bed. Now this bed, we didn't amend the soil or anything, and so it is a little dry here. We have since added a bunch of water, added some amendments, and then also put in the watering system. Like there's one drip tape in here right now. We've added more. And so it's fully watered now. And things are actually doing okay in here. But it's been really interesting to see the difference in the two beds, especially with some of the things that we have that are the same, like those two mints. Because the mint that is getting just a little bit of sun is doing way better than the ones that are in complete shade. And then here I'm just kind of like setting up the patio again. We do a lot of like outdoor cooking and barbecuing and stuff like that, especially for parties. And so I'm just kind of tidying up a little bit before we move on to the next project. And then we went ahead and misted the top of this green stalk. It was just kind of like a gentle watering. That's really nice. We really like that this hose nozzle that we have does that. And then we went ahead and just watered the entire green stalk from the top. And then after that, it's just more cleanup and tidying up. And I really like cleaning up after a project because then I feel like it really is complete. This was something that I was always taught to do as a kid, is like your project's not done until everything is clean and tidy and put away. And it just makes me feel good because when you go out, you get to really enjoy your work because everything just like looks tidy and put together. We actually ended up having lunch out here this day, and it was really nice to just sit out there and enjoy all of the new plants that we put in. All right, guys, so we got it all done. We got everything planted in the ground. I feel really good about it. Let me just give you a final walkthrough of what everything looks like now. So in this full shade garden bed, we have our two types of coleus. This one is a Volcanica Vino, and this one is, where's the tag? Oh, here we go. This one is a Kong Junior Lime Vein. So I'm excited to see what these do. Hopefully they are happy here. And then we have back here some orange mint. This smells really good. It has like an actual citrusy smell to it. And then here we have just another peppermint. This is the second one we have. And we're gonna see if it does okay here. And then here is the Yerba Buena that Andrew really wanted here. And this one is supposed to kind of like stretch out. You can see it's already kind of vining out. So it should provide a nice, kind of like a ground cover-ish, and fill in around where these mints are also gonna fill in. Here in our strawberry green stalk, we just put more petunias in the empty spaces. So and then our shady green stalk, this is where we put a lot of stuff. So we definitely filled in with a lot of petunias. Also, we put our fuchsias in here, which are supposed to do really well in the shade, and this one has kind of like a vining drooping quality, so hopefully it would kind of like cascade down a little bit. We think that would be really pretty. We also have some dianthus in here, and this is going to be the very top level of this green stalk. I'm gonna back up here to give you a full view of our patio. And so we always have this table out here. We'll maybe put like 2 tables if we're hosting a big party. All that garlic is gonna be moved pretty soon here. It's just there to dry. What I really wanted was a Greenstalk tower to kind of frame that side of the patio. We have our blackberry hedge, which will go all the way to the top of the roof there. And then in this corner, framing the other side of the patio, is the other Greenstalk. And then here on the other side, we mostly just put in the extra petunias that we had. And so we'll see how they do. They will get a little bit of sunshine here. And then we have another dianthus right here just to experiment and see kind of like what we could put in this bed in the future. I think that all of this is going to be really great for us to just have a more beautiful party space, and also to just have a place where we really enjoy eating in the summertime, to make it more beautiful. And I'm happy that that's finally happening. So if you have a place in your backyard where you've been kind of like wondering if you can make it a little more pretty, and maybe you've been thinking about it for a while, I highly encourage you to just give it a try. If worst comes to worst, like, you'll just redo it and try something new, but you'll learn either way. So thank you so much for hanging out with us in our garden today. I'm always so grateful whenever we get a chance to grow together, and I hope that you'll stop by again soon. And until then, have a wonderful day.